Hey y'all, welcome to day 3 of the Reset Your Mental Challenge Year End Edition. It is me, Mia Bia, ancestral healer and mindset coach. I help people transform their lives from the inside out. Um, if you have not watched day 1 or day 2, I strongly encourage you to do so. Links will be in the description box below. Make sure you like and subscribe to my channel, all that good stuff. Um, y'all, this is this is dope. This is really dope. Like I'm super excited. Um, Super excited for this challenge in so many ways. Yes. But day 1, we talked about illuminating our problems. Day 2 was about expressing gratitude. Today, day 3, we're talking about our desires, our direction, and alignment. I'm going to tell you now, day 3 is heavy. Day 3 is hard. Day 3 is deep. Um, and it's going to be a good thing because it's necessary. At the end of the day, it's necessary, right? We trying to get to where we trying to get to, trying to live life on purpose and in purpose. We're intentional, and when we're intentional, you got to be intentional about healing and growth and change, and that is exactly what this challenge is all about. We're resetting our minds. We are renewing our minds. We're reprogramming our minds. We are creating new neural pathways in our brain on how to process certain things when they happen to us. When I feel frustrated and overwhelmed, I don't want to go into a dark place anymore. I want to be able to acknowledge what's happening to myself and quickly pull from my Rolodex of spiritual tools and divine guidance to be able to get myself back on track quicker because it's gonna happen again. And that's one thing that I do want to say. Um, y'all know I love me a good little rant. So here we go. But we have to understand that just because we're spiritual, just because we love God, just because we practice whatever we practice, okay, that does not mean that life is gonna always be smooth sailing on the outside. We can't control anything outside of ourselves. We can only control ourselves. So we are creating, and well, I'll say this. Well, I'm saying we because technically we are you and I. We are creating these tools so that we can use them to help us when we're in this situation again, so we can stay cool. We want to be cool, even though life's not always going to be cool on the outside. Things are always going to happen, but that doesn't mean that we got to lose our minds because something happened to us, or because we're going through something, or because we're being asked to grow and be stretched. Okay. The quicker we're able to recognize what's happening to us and what season we're in our life, the more manageable it will be for us to move through it and get through the evolution that we're working through to renew our mindset. Okay? Now, today, we talking about desires. Okay, we've identified what we don't want. That was day 1. We identified what we are okay with, the things we're grateful for. That was day 2. Now we're being honest about what we actually desire out of life because, baby, when we have no direction, no clarity, um, it doesn't go well. You're not in alignment at that point. And when you don't know what you want your life to look like or feel like, you'll get stuck in cycles of frustration because you're accepting things that don't align because you didn't have a standard set in place, because you weren't clear about what you really wanted, like detail, detail. You can't just be like, God, I want to be married. Okay, one day I'm gonna talk about it, but this all I got. You're gonna be like, one day, God, I want to be married, and then you get put in a situation where you get married, and you miss some details. You miss some details, and then you like, ooh, wait a minute. I ahem, I don't know if this the wife or husband that I really want, because this is a little different. Details are important. You got to be detailed, and you got to stick to the standard. Okay, huh? We can't be accepting things that don't align simply because there's no standard in place and because it's what I want. Okay, so we're gonna ask ourselves day 3, what do you want your life to look like? What do you want it to feel like? And again, like I said, when we don't identify this, misalignment happens. And that misalignment is often what leads us to the burnout, the frustration, the confusion, the overwhelm, the lack of clarity, the chaos. It brews when you don't know what it is you're working towards. Identifying what you want, it helps you to stop accepting what you don't want. I'm going to keep saying it because people are always like, well, choose better or, um, whatever. I don't know. This is going down the relationship path, but we'll talk about some other examples. But you got to think about it. Like, if the situation is not helping to push you in the positive direction towards what you desire for your life, what you know that you can have for your life, then that's not for you. It may be what you want, but it's not the one or the thing for you. There's many options, but you've got to take the time and really look at the details to say, oh, generally speaking, this is what I want, but these details ain't adding up though. That's what you have to be able to see and say for yourself. Okay. I know some people say things like, life isn't always about getting what you want. Why not? Why not? Why not? I can have the desires of my heart, right? And the God that I know, we're co-creators. We work together. We create in the image and the likeness of God, and because of that relationship, you hear me? Relationship. God had a relationship, the connection, the ability to be able to sit down and get still and say, God, what do you want for my life? Are my desires and your desires in alignment? So before you answer that question of what it is you want your life to look and feel like, you have to know if what you want is in alignment with God, with what God wants you to have for your life. And in knowing that, you got to know what God wants you to have for your life. And that's another class for another day. We're going to get there next year. We're gonna talk about that. But what God desires for me has to align with what I desire for my life. That's where the clarity is. So I'm gonna say this too, because we have free will, like I said, and sometimes what we think we want, it changes not only um as in the details, but it changes as you grow. So when as a child, I want to be married. That's it. That's it, because you see a fairy tale. But as you grow and you evolve and you experience relationships with people, and you're like, ooh, I want somebody that's kind and caring, and I want someone that's, you know, And then you move from kind of I want someone who is emotionally available, emotionally intelligent. And then you move into I want someone who understands themselves. You know what I'm saying? So it's like your the things that you desire change as you mature and as you grow and change. And you can say, you know what? This is not for me. That's why, I talked about this a few weeks ago back on Instagram and TikTok is we think that stability equals forever. We think the stability is something that's supposed to last forever, but the stability does. It's the foundation. You Stability looks like evolution because you have to know that in order to stay stable, you got to do some maintenance on your foundation. You got to do some maintenance and update your desires. That's why it's really good for you to go through this process multiple times throughout the year, which we will next year, so that you can know, yeah, I did want this, but I've grown, and there's some things that I still want this, but I want it in a different form, or I want it to look a little different than what it's looking like now. And if what you got right now is not in alignment with what you want, you got to look at it and say, hey, is this thing growing with me? Is this something that can grow with me? Or is this something that is not going to grow with me? It's not evolving with me. Okay. Anyways, so this is why we're revisiting regularly what we want, what we don't want, so we can take inventory and reassess and realign. Now, if you're someone who honestly doesn't know what you want right now, that's also information that you need. Because if you can't clearly answer that question on what you desire, then we need to ask ourselves a different question first. Because what's blocking your vision? What is stopping you from seeing the life that you truly desire to live? Usually, that brings up some real old stuff like the childhood trauma, the wounds from the kid, memories. Those things come up, but when they come up, don't stop them again. So if you don't know what you want out of life, if you don't know what you desire, ask yourself what's blocking it. What's stopping me from seeing the life I desire to live? And whatever comes up, let it come up. It's uncomfortable, it hurts, and sometimes you don't want to see it or process it or relive it, but you have to. And even people who do know what they want, you still sometimes will experience old wounds and traumas coming up because as you're looking at this is what I want for my life, now your brain is going back and saying, oh, dang. Well, that's why I'm frustrated because I want this, but I have this. I want this, but I accepted this in my life. And we can't get mad at other people or other things for the decisions that we make in accepting certain things, whether it's a job, a car, a house, or whatever. Some things have to get stripped away because we've accepted something that is not in alignment with what we desire. Anyways, yes, overwhelm, frustration, lack of clarity, there's things that have to be acknowledged and worked through. It's emotional, it's heavy, it's necessary. Now, for those of you who do know what you want, I want you to write that down, speak it out loud. Whatever you've been doing, whatever your modus operandi is, get it in, okay? Reflect. Reflect. What do you want your life to look like? How do you want it to feel? Because you gotta feel that thing too. When you just say I want it to look like this, eh, that's a little sauce. But when you feel it and you like, oh, I want it to feel like clarity. I want it to feel like uh abundance. I want it to feel like you gotta that's that little cherry on top that helps you bring in what you desire a little faster, a little stronger. Okay. Also, you're paying attention to what emotions are coming up too. Where are those coming from? Okay. I desire personally, I want to build some generational wealth. I want to build a strong legacy. I want to see a certain level of abundance in my life. I want to be a millionaire, multimillionaire. Put some commas on that thing. You feel me? But because I haven't seen anybody in front of me put some commas on that thing, I don't have a blueprint for it. It's just me and God. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm gonna get there. You know what I'm saying? And I desire it, but sometimes desiring something that big can bring doubt and fear. And then you can see the self sabotage because 9 times out of 10, what you desire is something huge. And what you chose was something less than that big old desire because you probably have fear and doubt behind the big thing. And it caused you to abandon what you truly desire and sabotage yourself to pick something that you knew wasn't going to measure up in the first place. Person, place, thing, job, whatever. Hmm, that's important. That's really important. Sometimes the desire is clear, but the fear rises because the path is unfamiliar. And that this reflection that we're doing right now is meant to show you where the deficit is. You know what you don't want, you know what you do want. Now you can see where you've been accepting things outside of that. Okay. And those things created those same frustrations that we talked about on day one. And now, big reflection, where are these desires coming from? Are they really aligned with who you truly are? Not who trauma made you, not who your mama said you was, not who the little voice in your head that's telling you that you can't have. Not, no, no, no. Are these desires in alignment with who you really are? Are they realistic for your purpose? And why the heck are you settling for less than? Some people, they desire the money and the power and the respect, like I want to be a millionaire, but I'm desiring it because I want to contribute and I know that my purpose is going to call for me to have money like that so I can do what God wants me to do with my life. Some people, they just want the money and the power and the respect because they have wounds that are just open and bleeding everywhere. And some people want power because nobody ever protected them, so they felt like I have to have this ultimate power and I have to be the strongest person around because nobody was really there to protect me. And they're not going to say that is the because they don't even know that that's the because at this point in time. But to be able to bring that up, to think about, like, dang, why do I want power? Mm. And when you sit with it, that's when God be like, well, remember when you were 6 and that happened to you and nobody was there to protect you? You want the power so you can protect you now at any cost. Okay. And you're protecting everything about you, even the things that you need to let go of and heal, and even the things that need to grow up, even the things that aren't benefiting you. I don't know. That's for somebody. And some people want money just to have things, not, again, not to build anything, not to contribute, but just because they want to say, yeah, I spent $300,000 on a car. That's nice, but what else are you doing with your money? Are you giving back? Are you investing? Are you saving? Are you, those things? Are you making sure that your kids have something to fall back on too? Those things. Yeah. Some desires are also influenced by comparison rather than your purpose. And that's why it's important to know who you are, your purpose. You need to know who you come from, what kind of people you come from. And that way it helps you to discern whether your desires are aligned or misplaced. And finally, settling. We talked about that a little bit. We 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 can't just accept less just to have something. It's better to have nothing at all than to have something that's draining you and pulling you down and changing your whole brain chemistry. No, 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 no. Day 3, that's what it's asking you. It's deep. It's uncomfortable. Day 3 is where the work is happening. Day 3 and day 4 are that's where the work is going on. But I promise you, once you do it, things get clearer, things get lighter. And when you're writing this down, you now have a record. You have something that you can return to. Like I said, you have the tool. You're creating the tool. We're creating the tool together. I created a little outline for you. Now you're creating your personalized tool so that you can use it when you feel off again, when your frustration creeps up again, and when you notice the pattern repeating. You could be like, "Ooh, wait a minute. I'm out of alignment. I know I am. This isn't honoring who I really am right now. No, I'm settling. I'm settling. The fear crept in. I'm settling." And that awareness in itself is superpower. So that's the end of day 3. See y'all for day 4. Um, Make sure you like and subscribe. Again, all my social media is going to be in the description box below as well. If you want to have a conversation or whatever, I will also put my link tree down there so you can just get in contact with me however you need to. Enjoy day 3. See you for day 4.